What's up, everybody? I'm Abatage, and welcome to another episode of the How Long to Beat podcast. I am, of course, joined, as I am every week, by the fabulous Pokepaw / Paula.
Hello.
We're back to a regular episode this week after our special episode last week. And we're going to talk about the many games we've been playing and or retiring or completing in the last couple of weeks, including before the special episode we did. Then we're going to talk a bit about the game of the month as our topic, because we both played it and have been seeing how it's going in the what the buzz is in the community anyway so far. Then we're going to play our guessing game, and that'll probably take us to the end. However, first of all, I just thought I would give a little follow-up on how I'm feeling after our discussion last week with Dragon about Nintendo and how my mind might have been changed a bit, because I have thought about it since we had our big discussion, and Paula and Dragon both made some very good points, and one of the big things that I realized after talking about it some more was that my own perception of Nintendo stuff is perhaps a little bit limited because I'm not too involved in it. As we were talking about how, the closer you are to something, the more you know about it and the more you can differentiate between things and pick up on nuances and that sort of thing. And I think that's perhaps a blind spot in my experience with Nintendo, and why I've probably thought of it more as I can paint it with like a broad brush and just say, this is everything Nintendo. Whereas I think from our discussion last week, one thing I picked up on was I think Dragon was talking about the variety that Nintendo has to offer. And even though if you want to be kind of broad strokey, you could say that it kind of looks all the same and seems like all the same stuff, there actually is quite a bit of difference, and there are some things which I hadn't even considered, that like different franchises that I just don't know about too well, or that sort of thing. So my takeaway from our discussion last week, just as kind of a final thought, is that I feel like I've got a better appreciation of the scope of what Nintendo exclusives have to offer, and just I think that kind of it makes me more keen to try them out if given the opportunity. I'm not sold yet. I'm not rushing out to buy a Switch or anything, but I feel like I'm a little bit closer to doing that. So yeah, thanks again to Dragon for coming on and making the points you made and discussing the whole thing, because that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Sorry, I couldn't resist the urge to do that.
No, it's good. Well, the goal with the whole changing my mind thing is to change my mind, and I have had my mind changed a little bit, so I consider that a success.
I consider that a win. I hope Dragon does too.
But yes, back to the regular scheduled programming. I'm going to shut up for another bit and hand it over to Paula to talk about what you have beaten recently.
So, the game that I said I was very close to beat the last week, that was Radiant Tail, I beat it, and I'm so happy I played through this, and I've probably been through like the first stages of grief with this one after playing it, because it is over. The void was real for a couple of days. Like, I finished the game, I was just laying there looking at the ceiling, pondering what to do with my life next. But anyway, for any otome enthusiast or fan, I would say go pick this one up, because it was quite a lot of fun. I feel it was a lot lighter than other entries. It does have like those angsty moments that a lot of fans seem to eat up, like I don't know, like ramen or anything like that. But it's still a lot lighthearted than a lot of other otome games that I played. So if you're looking it doesn't even have like bad endings, like sad endings. It has usually like the normal endings and the happy endings, and it has a total of 5 character routes, which I discussed not very lightly during these during the past podcast episodes.
Mhm.
So you have the friendly neighborhood dragon video, the kind of like the mascot like character ready, the very strong stoic character Eon, sorry, the very sharp tongued clown Safra, and the very gentle yet mysterious spirit contractor Pascalia. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I feel like the final rap really ties everything together in a way not many Otome games do. Also, the character they chose for the final kind of like canon route was very unusual because they usually go and play like really safe. Either like with a, I'm gonna say like it's either like a very mature, it's such like looking character, and it's more, I'm gonna say it's more generic than the rest of the cast, but it's usually like the most normal out of the cast.
Mm.
And here you have the Genki stats, very energetic dragon shapeshifter, with a very, I guess, big burden to carry, and that really made the story pop, in my opinion. Plus, as I said before, the overall feeling of the group that formed with this is like a very like newfound family kind of trope,
Mm.
in the sense that everyone is in this together, because they've been working together for this amount of time, so they kind of form a bond, and pretty much they go whatever. If one is in trouble, they go whatever that person needs to go. Plus, it has a very and I've seen this name in a couple of places, mentioned in a couple of places. Sorry, it has a very like RPG feeling, in the sense of you start collecting like your party members at the start of the game, and each one has a special ability or a special quirk that gives them like a specific role in the team.
Yep.
So that was fun too. So yeah, great intel. Really enjoyed it. I almost bought the fandies, but in Japanese, but Axis really seems interested in localizing this one, or like at least like to see if it is worth to localizing the fan disc of the game or the sequel. So I think I'm just gonna wait. I still have a very big backlog, so that's it. So Avatar,
Cool.
you have a couple of games. One of them is very interesting, and I thought it was very interesting.
Well, I'll start off with the one I think you're not referring to, which I've talked about last time I was playing Warhammer End Times Vermintide on PC, and it's the one I was talking about where you're kind of like a 4-player co-op horde-based first-person action shootery type thing. It remained good till the end of the game. I was enjoying it last time, I think, as well. And there are a few things wrong with it as far as playing solo, but I can forgive it for that because it's very much designed for 4-player co-op. So yeah, I wouldn't hold a solo experience against it at all. It's kind of nice that they let you play solo, because some 4-player co-op stuff doesn't even give you the option to have bots with you or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as the missions were kind of they had enough variety in them to keep them interesting, but then they did kind of repeat themselves a bit towards the end. So, there were some missions where you had to blow something up, so you had to go around the map collecting explosive barrels and then take them to a point while fighting dudes who then can maybe explode the barrels while you're trying to transport them and that sort of thing. Or there was the kind of thing where you had to like basically just go from point to point and kill everything in your path, and a few other varieties, but they kind of repeated each other about 2 or 3 times throughout the campaign. However, the campaign was over pretty quick, and I don't think it outstayed its welcome. So overall, it was a good time, really. And if you're into Warhammer stuff, I'd say definitely check it out because, especially these days, it's cheap. There's been sequels and stuff, and it's good. It's very cool world building for end times Warhammer, which I think I mentioned before is more of like a gothic kind of Bloodborne-y kind of style as opposed to big guys with armor in space. And yeah, it was a good time, and the aesthetic is very much something I'm into, and it kind of carried it for most of it for me. But by the time I finished it, I thought, yep, I've had enough. So I'm kind of happy it's finished, but I'm happy I played it as well. So yeah, it was a very just satisfying little experience. So I'm glad I got around to it. I'm looking forward to playing the sequel because I have that as well in my backlog. So yeah, one day I'll get around to that when the itch itches. But the other thing I've beaten, which is a game I actually beat a while ago, but they had a content update recently, and they're very good with their content updates, is PowerWash Simulator. And I'm assuming, Paula, this is the one that you thought was a bit weird.
Yeah, it's very interesting because I only seen like the trailers of it and also the memes. Like everyone seems like calling this like game for the dad of the family, for the parents of the father at that game. So it was kind of funny, like imagining like enjoying this, but it looks relaxing. Like the way, like, oh, go ahead, like, but the gameplay looks actually like the kind of thing that puts you like in zen mode for a bit and just turn your brain off and see the thing happen. And it's
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, I get why this sounds like, or would seem like, the stupidest game in the world to everybody who maybe just isn't into this sort of game, and I totally understand that, and I back you, and it probably is stupid. But there's something about it. It's kind of like, to me, it's similar to playing something like Euro Truck Simulator or any kind of game like that where you think, huh, you're just doing some menial kind of task in a game. Like, that seems stupid. Where's the fun? Where's the action? Where's the story kind of thing? And it's not about that. It's just about chilling out and making something really dirty clean, which is very satisfying. And I finished PowerWash Simulator a while ago because I actually bought it while it was in early access, and yeah, that was in early access for a while. But it got its full release, I think, either last year or the year before, or sometime recently. Or maybe even a while ago. The point being, since it has come into full release, they've consistently released content updates where they'll release brand new maps or vehicles or locations or whatever to the game. So to basically give you more stuff to do in the game. So every few months or so, I reinstall it and play the new stuff, and you get another few hours gameplay out of it for no cost because they just kind of give it to you, which is, I always think, a cool thing. Like, free DLC is always fun, and it's good DLC too. Like, it's actually new maps to work on, and most of the stuff, if you haven't played PowerWash Simulator, most of the game is split into locations and vehicles. So, and you're a power wash person who comes along and you find a location like a house or something. It's covered in grime and dirt and every surface is horrible looking. And you come on with your big pressure hose and just blast it all away bit by bit. And once you've cleaned everything, it dings and you get a really nice actually animation of you cleaning the whole thing, but sped up. So it's like a time lapse of everything you've done, which is kind of a nice little payoff.
That sounds very nice.
Yeah, because you can spend like a few hours cleaning this location, and some things are quite fiddly and difficult to get to, and there is a bit of light puzzling, I would say, involved to try and get every little nook and cranny. So then when you finish and you get the time lapse of your, perhaps even 3 hours you might have spent on something, just of you zipping around cleaning everything, it's very, very satisfying. But yeah, with that in mind, though, they've got, perhaps in the main game, they have, I want to say maybe like a dozen different locations and another dozen vehicles or something to clean of varying things. Like they have fictional stuff and real stuff, from everything from like a bicycle all the way up to, you know, an entire spaceship and things that you can clean.
Excuse me, what? A spaceship?
Yeah. There's one that's like if I might be remembering a little bit incorrectly, but I think there was one which was like looked like a stealth bomber, that kind of triangle shaped jet thing, but it's a spaceship and it's got like anti-gravity things that you have to clean and stuff. And yeah, it's a good time. There's a special level which came out in the first game. Again, this is not spoiling anything because it's literally just there and there's no story to this, trust me. But one of the locations is you clean the Mars rover on Mars, along with a couple of things that are scattered around on Mars. But that's kind of difficult because the Mars rover's got all these little components and wheels and bits and bobs, so you've got to really get in there and clean every little tiny piece. So yeah, they recently released I think might have been like again I'm not remembering properly. I should have written it down, but it was either 2 or 3 new locations and a new vehicle, which was a digger kind of thing, like from a work site kind of vehicle. But the locations are actually there's 2 locations, I think, because one of them's like a paintball arena. So it's a paintball arena that's like covered in obviously paint splatters and dirt and that kind of thing, and you just kind of wash it all off and make it look all clean again. And the other one is like looks like almost like an Italian or Mediterranean kind of villa that's just, again, covered in grime, and you go around and clean everything off. So yeah, that was, I guess, quote unquote, a game I beat this week by beating the content update. But yeah, it's PowerWash Simulator is just, every time they release a content update, I kind of get really excited and look forward to playing it again, because it just scratches that itch of doing something that's just satisfying. And I don't know, I like that kind of thing. And I think it is kind of like that Euro Truck Simulator thing, where you do something and it's a good enough simulation that it doesn't feel janky or like a bad game. Like, it's well made and it's well put together, but it's also obviously more fun than doing the real thing, because like my car in real life right now really could do with a wash. Like, it is horrendously dirty. And I've been meaning to get around to washing it, and I have a power washer and everything, but I just never get around to it because I'm lazy, and I'd rather play a game instead of
You'd rather play a game of washing a car with a power wash instead of using the power wash itself.
Yeah, pretty much. And I know how shameful that is, but but that's why I try all these games. Like, on the other hand, recently, not to go on too much of a tangent, but not so long ago, I tried Lawnmower Simulator, which was new, and I tried it because it was on Game Pass, so I didn't have to buy it or anything. But that was relatively unsatisfying, because while it had, there is a nugget of something in there that could have been fun for people who like these kind of games. What sucked about that game was, after you'd played it for about an hour, that was it. The rest was just grinding and doing the same thing over and over and over again, with no variety and no real change. And, by then it took me that long to basically earn enough money, get the best lawnmower I could. And then I started seeing the exact same maps over and over, rather than new places or different challenges or that sort of thing. Whereas, like, in PowerWash Simulator, half the fun is each time you go to a different location, you have to kind of figure out, because you don't want to, this might seem like an oxymoron to some people, but you don't want to waste too much of your time. So you want to try and figure out, the most efficient way to clean everything and reach every surface and, get inside every nook and cranny. And you've got things like ladders and scaffolding and stuff that you can put up to get to like high things. And there are different attachments and things for your power washers so that you can reach further away, or you can add like cleaning solutions and stuff, which will get through the dirt much quicker and stuff. But I've actually found that there's like one attachment and one power washer that I just basically use for everything because it just works for everything. And I couldn't be bothered swapping them out and min-maxing it to that extent. But yeah, that's a Power Wash Simulator. I'd say I get, like I said at the top, I get why people probably are like, what? That's just weird. Why would anyone play that kind of crap? But if it is the kind of thing that you're into, and you're into it if you are into it, it's definitely a good one. Like how I'd always recommend Euro Truck Sim if you're into that kind of stuff. Like it's one of the best simulator games out there. This is another one that's like really, really good as far as the quality and the progression and the variety and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, and it's very much built for co-op as well. So if you've got friends who you want to hang out with and maybe shoot the shit and clean some things, this is the game for you. Yeah, but that basically is everything I beat this in the last fortnight, I suppose.
From things we do recommend, from things we do not recommend. Well, this time I I have a retirement, so I'm gonna just roll into it.
Yes, please.
Pokemon Sleep. I just can't recommend this one to anyone. Like, the premise of the game like had some promise in the sense of, it tracks you, like it helps you like get the actual hours you need to sleep, and it makes it fun because at the next morning you get like Pokemon encounters, and they're very cute, not gonna lie. But I don't know, the game, first of all, it doesn't let you do a lot from start, besides just sleeping and getting your sleep decks filled and choosing like your what's the name of it, like the Pokemon, your helper Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
But first of all, there are a lot of Pokemon, and that rhythm of just like getting like 3 new ones, or like sometimes if you don't have any luck, like a couple of new ones and the other are repeat.
Right.
That's kind of like a little bit slow. I know the game is supposed to be chill, but I don't know, if you put something Pokemon, well, it doesn't have the Karakachamal logo anymore.
Right.
But I'm a kid of the 90s, so that is my mentality with Pokemon, Karakachamal.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like the slow progress of the game is not one that I vibe with. And also, half of the time, the app doesn't even work properly. Like, it's supposed to track like your sleep hours, but again, if you have someone with you, or even just a pet, it won't track sleep properly. So that's a bummer, and that affects the encounters you get. And in the end, it's like trying to win a losing battle in a way. And the extra activities that it has aren't like compelling enough for me to keep doing this. It wastes a lot of battery because the app has to be open during the night for it to work. So in the end of the day, I can't recommend it at all. Like, unless you have like the ideal conditions and really, really, really want to have Pokemon Sleep in your life, I really can't recommend it.
Do you know if it ties in with, say, like I've got a Fitbit that I wear and it tracks my sleep and stuff and then talks to an app on my phone to kind of, keep records of that sort of thing. Do you know if you could hook up Pokemon Sleep to like a Fitbit or something so that you can just kind of have better sleep tracking?
I mean, to my knowledge, it doesn't have that.
Right.
Like right now.
Yeah.
They could include it because that would be like hell of a lot easier. I do not have my watch with me right now because I forgot to wear it like a week ago and I don't know where it is. But that would be actually a lifesaver because I do have a watch. It does track my sleep more accurately because it does it has like these green and red lights that kind of like can sense the oxygen and pressure and stuff of your blood somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's like magic, but it works.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. If it could tie in, it could solve a lot of those problems that you've mentioned about even keeping the app open during the night. Like if you've got another device tracking your sleep that can then just tell it in the morning, oh, this is what happened. And then the app can just kind of figure out, okay, here's your reward or whatever. That would probably help.
Yeah, I know it has like its own separate device that is a Pokemon Go plus. I don't know how many pluses are at this point. There's like a little. It looks like a cookie in my opinion, like a Pokeball cookie, like the one in the game.
Cool.
It's like a flat disc with the design of a Pokeball. It's supposed to have like a Pikachu in it, and it kind of like accompany it kind of like records the info instead of your phone, so you can leave your phone charging and use this cookie of a Pokeball instead.
Yeah.
It is expensive. I'd rather just have a watch for that price. But it exists. I don't know how good it is, but it is a thing.
Fair enough.
The thing about the watches and the fit bands and things like that is that a lot of them have different software. So trying to and each of them also has like their own app depending on the manufacturer. So trying to make everything fit together looks kind of like a nightmare. But I wonder if there's already like some intermediate app because I swear people, when they really want to include some like compatibility between two apps, they do it. So maybe there's already like a mod or something that allows you to connect the thing. Not that Nintendo wants you to do it, or the Pokemon Company wants you to do it, but I swear, like, if they managed to do the thing where I could connect my watch and don't have the microphone on my phone trying to record everything, but my watch giving it information and accurate information at that, I would try it again. But at the state that it is now, no in hell.
Maybe retire.
Yeah, so retire until further notice, maybe forever. So do you mind if I go roll into my playings? Because you have a lot of things. I just have one, so I just get that out of the way.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So for the games that I've been playing, and that is just one of it, mainly because I got like a little bit do you know how sometimes you try to organize to do a thing and you waste more time organizing to do the thing than doing the thing?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So regular listeners already know that I keep like a gaming journal with me, and I revamped it in the sense of now I don't have to buy a new journal every time the other one runs out. I just have to get the replacement pages, and I can just keep a folder or something with all the backlog information I've ever had in my life from now on, which is nice and dreadful in a way. But so yeah, I had to write down all the games. I had to customize my journal because it is a customizable one, so why not? So I spend more time doing that than playing. I still play a hell of a lot this week, but hopefully next week I'll have like more variety to it. Anyway, the game that I'm playing is Lover Pretend. I played this one. I've been playing. Okay, I started this one on season 2. Got distracted with something else. Ended up playing like Paradox instead, and then jumped into Radiant Hill because who cares about anything else? Radiant Hill is good. I just decided that, hey, I have like a lot of unfinished Otome games because, I don't know, I guess my ADHD just mandates me to start and not finish a lot of stuff. So I'm picking this one up again. Last time I think, okay, and a brief description of the game. You play as Chiyuki, who is an aspiring screenwriter, and she's like going to college. She kind of like acts as an assistant to a well-known screenwriter inside this game world. And she is recently her grandmother who was caring for her passed away, and her mother passed away like when she was little. The thing is, she never knew her father. She only knew that shortly after her mother's last work, she ended up having her. And instead of going back to being a screenwriter, her mother decided to take on multiple jobs at a time to maintain her family and stuff like that. Since she's now alone in the world, she is on a crusade of trying to find out like who her father was, and the opportunity kind of like shows itself when she gets since she's a screenwriter's assistant and that screenwriter got hired to do something, she gets like into this what's the word for it? Like an acting camp where they train like a group of actors and then like try to decide which one the casting of the movie they're gonna do.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And it so happens that five of the people that were connected to the last movie her mother worked at kind of like had their respective fathers like working on that movie. I mean, they have like sons now, and they like are working this new movie. So in each route, you get to pretty much try to get to know them, to know if they're the protagonist brother, and it's like, oh no, it is not. But then things happen, you get like a lovey-dovey happy ending. That's the gist of it. I think Rick and Alex compared to Mamma Mia, which I don't know. I haven't seen that. But in the game sphere, in the Otome sphere, it is very, for some reason, in the Otome games that I play, it is very normal, like, for the protagonist to not have, like, a lot of contact with their family for some reason. And or just not have parents, because it seems to be a trend for some reason. Or looking for their father. This is the third time. In this case, the father is just a concept.
Yep.
So it was an interesting take for me. So and it looked like more bubbly and more lighthearted than other Otome games that I got. This seems to be a trend today. So I give it a go. So first of all, you have Makino Harumi, who is the son of the director, I think, of the movie. The protagonist's mom worked at. Then you have Suna Yukito, who is the son of the was it an actor or the producer? The producer of the movie. And then you have Kazuma, that is just the protagonist's like best friend, and is just there for the ride, trying to help out for however he can. And then you have oh my god, I did this from like last night. How am I blanking in the Riku? Yeah, Riku Nijima. And he's like the son of an actor, and he even starred in that movie as a kid, like as a little kid. He was a child actor at that time. So far, no luck with trying to find a father. And I'm kind of like worrying about the last route because we like in the game they kind of like already discard him, and it's kind of weird because I check on like the completion stuff, like the CGs, they in the Atomic games you have like a gallery to see like everything you've unlocked so far. So you have the music, which is very welcome because sometimes I just want to listen to chill music and not have Spotify on or the music isn't on Spotify. You have the CGs that are the image gallery where you have like all the images that you collected during your journey. I noticed that the last route has less, so it's gonna be a shorter route. So I feel like I don't have much of the game left to complete it. And also you have, and then I realized I have an ending list. There's like, I think there's like 30 or so endings in this game.
Whoa.
So one of the big features of this game is what is called pretend time. And it is an interesting take of your usual, okay, I'm gonna pick A or B and proceed with story. But here you have like a group of questions and you have to act out a scenario in a way where you get out of trouble. And you have limited time to respond to each question or each prompt. Which is kind of stressing at times because sometimes two options look the same and it's like, which is gonna be the one that they want to hear. So if you get like 50 or 75%, still, well, you have to get 75% to pass. 100% if you want like the best outcome, but if you get 0%, you can just end up on a bad ending. And it tells you like at the start of the game, the first pretend time you do, yeah, this one is just for you to practice, but keep in mind, trying to like working this will end your game. Like will end your little story right there. And you have like a variety of things, like literally the protagonist got picked at some point like to act as an actor partner like for the audition. So she got picked like twice in a row, and she has to like try to come up with something that will let the actor like show their best acting capabilities, I guess. You have other situations that it's just, oh fuck, I'm in trouble. I need to get out of here as fast as possible. How do I get this person off my tail? And there are some that are just more of like trying to navigate a conversation without messing up. Like a very delicate situation. It's like, okay, I can't take too much time, otherwise the other person is gonna see that I'm not interested, but I have to respond one thing or the other, and I can't miss that. So that was kind of relatable in particular. So yeah, overall, the game is good. It's not the best one I played. I have to say, like, the angsty moments are like really short-lived, which is a welcome change. I think some routes are better written than others, though. Like, I feel like Makino's and especially Yukito's routes were very well written. While I think the one of the best friend, either I didn't like it as much because I found the best friend to be an asshole in a way. But or like maybe the trope didn't vibe as well with me this time around, which is a trope that I actually vibe with a lot. But this
Right.
time I'm trying to dance around it to not spoil the trope. But this time I think it fell flat on its face. I think that was the writing in this case because it really didn't do it for me. I just went through another route that was like still well written, but less than the others. So yeah, that's it. I like though that they've subverted the expectations of some of the characters. So you usually have like the really hardworking one that has a very deep secret that he doesn't want anyone to know about. But then you have the flirt character, like the playboy. And I don't usually like those characters, but they pull it off here, like because they gave him like actual layers of complexity of why he acts this way, and it's not like it makes sense given the context of the character because he's a model, but he wants to end up in the movie industry. Like he wants to become an actor, and then you have the actor that doesn't want to be an actor. He wants to be a stage designer,
Right.
and stuff like that. So it is very interesting that each character enters this role. Like they have this initial role, and then they flip it on its head a little bit. Again, it works for some more than others, but when it works, it really works. So yeah, very interesting on seeing like the last route of the game because it was a character that I thought when I saw him in game. It's like, hey, this character would be a very nice route, and then it turns out to be the secret route of the game. So color me happy.
Cool.
So yeah, if the premise sounds interesting to anyone listening, I say give it a go. I think this one is more. It doesn't have a fantasy at all, like the last one that I talk about.
Yep.
It is very down to earth. It is set up in modern world, Japan, in the entertainment industry. You may learn a thing or two, and it is a lot of fun. It takes itself a little bit more seriously than I would like. But still, it is a very good otome game. So yeah, I'll shut up for now. So Josh can reveal about all the games that he's been playing, which are a lot. And one of them in particular is it came out really recently. And I don't know if you want to start with that one because I'm very interested. I'm very interested about it. It is on Game Pass too.
I can definitely start with Sea of Stars. I assume you're talking about. Yeah, this came out on Game Pass and on PlayStation Plus. So I've been playing it on PS5 because I just prefer my PlayStation. But it's probably the most interesting thing I've played in the last couple of weeks because for me it's something that's very much out of my comfort zone. Well, not so much comfort zone, but more it's the kind of game that I don't expect to enjoy.
Yeah.
Because it's a full-on JRPG, and it's got turn-based combat, it's got top-down pixel art, it's got all the things that I've seen in other JRPGs and other JRPGs that I've tried and retired as well. However, I thought I'll give this a go because, always happy to give something a go if it's part of a subscription I have. Uh, and I'm actually enjoying myself so far. It's one of those circumstances I'm not sure how long I will enjoy myself. But there are a few things in this game which, for people like me, kind of make it a bit better. So, yes, as you said, it's pretty much a new game. It came out in the last couple of weeks. I noticed, because it was part of our Fantasy Critic League, that it got really good scores, which was another reason that I thought I'd give it a go, because critically it's been very well received. I think it's up in the mid to high 80s or something, which is pretty decent. And, I was just, the real truth of it is I was just in the mood to give it a go. It looked like, I looked at it and went, yeah, I feel like doing that right now. So yeah, I was thinking about this before we started, to think about what could I say about the story? And it's not because I'm trying not to spoil anything, but because I don't really know what the story is yet. But I understand that can sometimes take some time in big RPGs. I've kind of I've definitely got past the tutorial section, which was perhaps the first few hours of the game, which was all very much introductory, prologue-y kind of stuff for the story. So you essentially start off the game playing as these. You can pick, like any kind of RPG, you pick which one's your main party member, but your party is these couple of kids who are friends, and in whatever fantasy world that they live in, there are these warriors who are called, I think they're called maybe like solstice warriors or something, who have special powers and things. And these kids basically are quite adventurous kids and stuff, and they end up getting trained as these warriors, and that's kind of your tutorial. And then it kind of skips ahead to when they're adults, and they basically come out as fully trained super duper warriors kind of thing. And then they go off and you start the adventure. So I'm just past that start the adventure kind of phase. So I'm still not kind of sure what the overall hook is for the story. But your party basically consists of these two characters and their other friend, who isn't a warrior, but is kind of like the comic relief of the party. Like, he's the fat one. He's really into cooking. Like, he has a shield, which is the top of a casserole pot.
Oh my god.
And so he doesn't have any special powers, but he's along for the ride anyway. And he seems to be just as effective, if not more, than the other characters in combat, depending on the enemies you're facing. So, he does it right.
He's cooking.
But yeah. And so you can cook different food to like buff your team and that kind of stuff. And so the cook guy, who's kind of the comic relief, his thing is about physical damage, basically. So when you get in a fight, he hits things hard, and that's pretty much it. Or he can heal the party, because he's like the caretaker. He's kind of a bit of a Samwise Gamgee of the group from Lord of the Rings. But the main warrior too, there's a girl and a boy, and the girl is kind of like, her magic powers are kind of like moonlight powers, and so one of her big attacks is she can throw like a moonbeam kind of boomerang, which bounces between enemies and creates a lot of damage and that sort of thing. Whereas the boy has like fiery sun powers, so he can create this big fireball and chuck it at enemies. And yeah, but from what I can tell, it's for the most part, it's pretty standard kind of JRPG stuff that I've seen in other games, where you explore the map, you hit encounters with enemies, and then it goes into a turn-based mode. You can do straight physical attacks, or you can do special attacks like these magic fireballs and stuff, but they obviously cost mana, and you have a mana bar which runs down. There are items you can use as well in combat, and both to like heal yourself or buff each other or harm the enemies and that kind of thing. One thing that I'm just not sure how mainstream it is or how common it is part of the combat system that I like is, and I feel like it's probably more common than I'm aware of. But there's a whole timing based thing. So when I choose, say, attack a specific enemy with my character, if I then hit some buttons at the right time, like when the hit connects, it kind of does a critical hit then instead.
What?
So it kind of gives you more damage. So rather than just hitting the button and then forgetting about it and watching the animation, you're actually a little bit more engaged. So you hit the button you choose your attack and hit the attack, but then you also want to try and hit the timing of the right point in the animation when your character actually hits them, and they basically then get a free attack, so you get kind of a bit extra damage.
You know what? It's kind of like, when we were kids, we thought like, hey, maybe if I press V and down at the same time, well, that Pokemon gets caught in the wall, then maybe we'll get a critical capture. Like, they made that an actual feature.
Yeah, well, and the fun stuff, it works the other way as well. So when you're getting attacked, if you basically hit a button at the right time in the enemy's attack animation, you defend and you kind of halve the damage that's done to you. So I think that's it sounds simple maybe, but that's largely why it's kept me engaged, because one of the things I really don't like about turn-based RPGs is it ends up just, sometimes it's other ones I've played, it ends up just mashing A all the time. You're just like, yes, attack, 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 cool, attack, 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 yeah, cool, 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 cool. And there's no real moment-to-moment engagement in it, because you're just kind of selecting menu options and that's about it. Whereas this at least kind of, you don't have to do it, but if you want to really make the most of stuff, then, and your attacks and everything, then you want to try and like hit that timing so that you can, do extra damage or take less damage, that kind of thing. And it's not super easy either. Like, I probably hit it maybe with the attack. It's easier because you're more used to your own character's attack animations, so it's a lot easier to know when to hit your timing. So I hit them maybe about 80% of the time. Whereas getting attacked, because there's lots of different types of enemies who have different attacks and different animations that go with those attacks, I probably only hit the defense one maybe half the time, and some attacks can be like multiple hits. So one thing that they have, which I think again is probably more standard than I know it to be, but a lot of the enemies will have like a timer above them as you're fighting them, to kind of show that in 2 turns I'm winding up, I'm gonna do a big attack on you. So you have basically a couple of turns to knock them out of it. And sometimes they'll even show you what kind of attacks are needed to knock them out of that kind of preparation phase, I guess, and stop them doing their big powerful attack. So sometimes it'll have a little symbol that says, oh, it needs to be hit with like bludgeoning damage and slashing damage. So you go, okay, one of my characters does bludgeoning damage, so they'll hit them with that. Another one's got a sword and does slashing stuff, so they'll hit them with that. And then they'll knock them out. Others will have symbols of like your special attacks, so you have to like do a spell on them or something to knock them out. But if they manage to get off their big attacks, sometimes they'll do like a AoE kind of thing that hits your entire party, but it might hit like 3 times. So you're trying to time every one of those hits to lessen the damage, which, is, I'm not very good at it, but it's definitely keeping me more engaged, because it kind of, rather than just watching a fight take place, you're actually, taking part in it a bit more. Which I'm surprised at how effective that has been to keep my attention, when normally I'd get quite bored with turn-based stuff because of that very reason. But just something simple as hitting a button on time with the attacks is enough to kind of keep you a bit more engaged. So yeah, it's one thing I do really enjoy about it, which again is probably not new to fans of the genre, is the pixel art is really good. It's really beautifully put together, and one thing I really like is that there's a lot of depth in the levels that you explore. There's a lot of verticality stuff as well. So even though it's an isometric kind of view that's stuck, or a top-down isometric really, there are kind of like ladders or stuff that kind of might go up, but then go behind other bits of scenery, and you kind of end up getting more of a three-dimensional depth in it than perhaps other games I've seen and played. And the music's really good as well so far. There've been moments where it's like, oh, I really like this. This is cool. And yeah, as much as I do really enjoy music in games, quite often when it's just generic stuff, I kind of just ignore it, and it's just background kind of noise. But I know it must have good music if I've kind of stopped and actually paid attention to it and gone, oh, this is kind of cool. So yeah, it's really good so far. I think if you are a fan of these types of games, this is probably one that you should check out. Because not that I'm necessarily the person to recommend anything about JRPGs to anyone, but I figure if it's interesting enough to keep me hooked, then it's either doing something different to other JRPGs, or it's just a very good one. So maybe it's worth checking out anyway. But time will tell. As I say, I've only just kind of started the main story, so I can see how if nothing new kind of happens in the next few hours, I might think, yeah, I've had enough now. But yeah, I'm very open to be along for the ride for as long as it takes. So, we'll see. Maybe this will be the first JRPG I play to completion.
Maybe.
We'll see. But yeah, that's probably the most interesting game I've been playing, or biggest kind of game that I've been playing in the last couple of weeks. I've still been playing some Divinity Original Sin 2. I can't remember if I mentioned it
I think
last
you
time.
did.
I think I did. Yeah, because I got that itch from playing Baldur's Gate 3 to kind of play a single-player campaign, and I didn't want to play single-player Baldur's Gate while I'm playing co-op Baldur's Gate because I don't want to spoil anything. So I picked up Divinity Original Sin 2 again, which I had previously put like 30 hours into, I saw, but then retired just because I didn't have the time. Not because there was anything wrong with the game, but at the time I just didn't. I knew, when you're like facing down, you go, oh, I've got another 80 hours left in this game at least. And you think, yeah, I can't do that right now. That's what happened last time. So again, I'm playing this. I'm probably being much more thorough than when I first played it. So I'm kind of enjoying it a lot more this time around. And I mean, I don't have much to say about it. It's just a very good CRPG, I believe it is. The graphics are great. The art is actually quite incredible sometimes, because it's got that isometric kind of view, but you can rotate your view 360 degrees. So everything is modeled and has to be textured and everything, because you can look at it anything from any angle, even though it's primarily an isometric kind of view. But sometimes when you rotate it and things, because it is it's very high fidelity art, but it's not photorealistic art, so you can tell it's very much animated. But some of the detail in the textures, even just the ground and stuff, when it's like an uneven kind of perhaps gravelly, dirty kind of ground with a bit of water and things, it's actually really quite impressive how it looks. I think so anyway, because it kind of like the music thing with Sea of Stars, like it stands out enough when I'm just moving around. I'll stop and go, oh, that looks really cool, that puddle or whatever. So I figure it stands out enough to be noticeable, so it must be pretty cool. But yeah, it's a lot of fun playing through it. And interestingly, I was talking to someone the other day who was saying, oh, what's Baldur's Gate 3 like? I'm not sure if I want to play it. And my first response to them was, oh, go play Divinity Original Sin and see if you like that. Because it's a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
And then if you really like that, then okay, go pick up Baldur's Gate, because it's basically bigger, better, more D&D focused. But Divinity Original Sin is really scratching the itch, though, as in it's It's not 100% D&D, obviously, but it's very, very close. And yeah, it's still a lot of fun. But I'll probably be noodling away at that one for a long time because it's quite a long game, and I'm almost up to... Well, no, I'm nowhere near, actually. I'm probably about halfway to where I got to last time. So after that, it'll be new territory, and it'll probably take a lot longer anyway. So got that to look forward to. Similarly, another game that I played a lot of before but decided to pick up again recently just because is Vampire Survivors.
You kind of like just walk and you have like auto abilities or like auto attack.
Yes, I'm not sure if Vampire Survivors was the first one in that genre, but it definitely popularized that genre. And now, since Vampire Survivors came out and was popular, there are lots of very similar games that have come out since, which are basically, you have a character in a level where enemies constantly come at you, and as you kill them with your abilities, you gain experience that you can then spend on new abilities or upgrading the abilities you have, which then kills them obviously faster or does more damage. So bigger enemies come and bosses come, and you end up killing them as well. And it's all about basically the synergies that come from the items you pick up and the abilities you acquire, because if you combine certain abilities, they then merge into a super ability. And so you kind of want to calculate what you're picking up as well. You don't want to just pick up everything because you want to try and complement what you're doing. And there's a whole range of stuff. Like there's very short kind of melee directional based attacks. There's wide area of effect things. There's like random stuff that will just shoot anywhere on the stage at anything. So, you want a good kind of combination of stuff to be able to survive, because you literally have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of enemies attacking you all at the same time on the map, to the point when you get to most maps last about half an hour, because if you can survive for 30 minutes, then all the enemies disappear, and Death, who is the final boss and is not a spoiler because that happens on every single level, Death shows up and is basically virtually unkillable. There is a way to kill him. And he basically ends your run anyway, because he's just too powerful and will kill you and you're done. So most of the time, if you're doing well, you'll only be playing for about 30 minutes anyway, and then you'll start again and do another stage. But towards the end there, when you've upgraded all your abilities and you're doing heaps of damage and stuff, the screen can just fill up with enemies to the point you can't see anything but sprites or numbers of the damage that you're doing to them. And it just becomes this mess of stuff you can barely see, and you're kind of like hoping that you're staying alive in the midst of all that. Because sometimes it can be very confusing because you can't see anything because of all the enemies that are on screen. But yeah, it's very it's one of those games that time just like flies by, and you just want to play one more go, and it's very, very addictive because you want to see what happens. And it's got that really quick progression of upgrading your abilities and everything that you very quickly feel very powerful, and you can just tear around taking out everybody you meet. And it's pretty cool, like the creativity in it as well. Like it's obviously kind of horror themed, like Vampire Survivors. Like most of the enemies are kind of zombies, or well, not most of them, but the enemies range from things like zombies or ghosts or skeletons, or various monsters, or even plants that have come to life, or like mummies, or like flying weird angel things, or even just like big eyeballs that are coming to attack you, or it's really creative, and there's so many different enemy types, and there's enough different weapon types to kind of really keep you interested for a long time, because there's a lot of stuff to do, which is why I ended up picking it up again in the last week or so, because I remembered that I'd played it a while ago and I'd never kind of focused on unlocking things, because there's a whole series of other characters and abilities and levels and everything that you can unlock if you do certain things while you're playing. Whereas when I first played it, I just kind of played it and just went, la 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 la, I'm killing everything, isn't that fun? But I didn't actually think about the whole meta kind of thing of, okay, in this level, you've got to go over here and kill that particular enemy that only spawns over there. And then if you do that, you unlock this other level where if you collect an item that's on that level, you can then go back to the other one and do something else and unlock another thing. And there's like heaps of these kind of unlock stuff to the point I pulled up a website with a guide because you'd have a hard time figuring it out for yourself. And I've been working through that. So I've been basically working through unlocking a whole lot of stuff, which has been cool because now I've got like twice as many different characters to choose from, and I've unlocked heaps of different abilities that I didn't even know existed, but apparently they do. As well as unlocking a whole bunch of new maps and variations on previous maps and modifiers for maps and all this kind of stuff. So, and the main reason I wanted to talk about Vampire Survivors though on the podcast was to basically say that if you like this kind of game and you've seen the new ones that come out and everything, don't pass over Vampire Survivors because it is like so good and so cheap. Like I think when I bought it, it was like $3.50, and I've got like, if you go for hour ratios, I'm just going to have a quick look here to see how many hours I've put in so far.
You could check a little website called How Long to Beat. I don't know if you heard about that one.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, I've put in 30 hours and I've probably unlocked, well, I've got 70% of the achievements, and there are 190 achievements to get. And basically there's an achievement for everything you unlock. So I've still got, 30% of stuff to go. But I think the price might have gone up a bit since I bought it because it might have been on special or something for its launch. But for a game that costs a few bucks, I don't think I've ever had so much or felt like there's so much content on offer for so little. And yeah, it's one of those games that is just way more addictive and interesting than you feel it ever really had any right to be. Because you're like, this is just some little indie game made, I think, by one person, and it costs a few bucks. You think, oh well, I'll get a couple of hours out of it, that'll be fun. But no, it just keeps on going and it keeps on giving, and you just, what a fantastic little game.
And then you notice you've been staring at your computer for the last 3 days.
Pretty much. Or because they have got in-game, they've got like a list of things to unlock. So I've been working my way through it as well, and some things I just don't know how to unlock, so I have to Google it. But even that, it's like, oh, survive 30 minutes with this character. So you're like, okay, off I go. and you survive 30 minutes, and you go, okay, what's next? Okay, now survive 30 minutes with this character. Oh, all right, cool, that'll be fun. And you get through a few of them, and you're like, oh, I've just spent all night on this. Okay. And yeah, the reason you want to play different characters is because they each have a different starting ability. And some of them have abilities that are only unlocked by playing as the character who starts with that ability. And then once you've done that, it'll be able to be obtained by other characters. And some of them are good, some of them are interesting, some of them are just weird. Some abilities make the enemies much stronger, some of them make them weaker. Some of them even just freeze them so they stop. There's a whole range of different stuff that you can do, and you can kind of pick and choose what you want. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I can't recommend Vampire Survivors enough, really. But I won't go on about it all night. I've still been playing Sword and Fairy Together Forever that we spoke about a couple of weeks ago. I've been playing that on my Xbox, and I don't have much to say other than I've continued playing it, and it's still kept me interested. I've got another party member in my party now, so I've got 3 people along for the ride. and they've all got different abilities, which is nice. Like one of them has a big kind of, Final Fantasy VII looking sword. One of them's got like a more like a katana looking sword and does more fencing kind of moves, that sort of stuff. The other one is the kind of character I really like from, say, Dynasty Warriors and stuff, who is more a magical character. So she's got like playing cards that float around her, and she like throws them at people and stuff. And I don't know why that stuff just kind of appeals to me. But so I'm kind of happy to have her there. Story-wise, not a lot has happened to talk about, but one thing that struck me that I do really like about it is just the graphics, and not so much graphics, but the overall kind of presentation and style of the game. Like, there's a definite kind of color palette that they've gone with that's very kind of greens and blues and whites that kind of permeates through everything, especially because they're kind of the colors of your sect, like your clan kind of thing. Whereas the other sects do have different color schemes. But it's kind of, the animations and everything are very, you can tell a lot of work's gone into them. Like, they're very fluid. They're very, the frame rate is good. Everything feels really responsive. And yeah, it's just, I'm kind of really enjoying it. But again, it's the kind of story that I'm not 100% hooked yet, as much as I enjoy the gameplay. The story is kind of a little bit, I think I feel a little bit too confused to really get hooked into it. Like, it's got one of those stories where they throw a whole lot of stuff at you all at once, and you're just like, oh, okay, I think I know what's going on. But sometimes I realize I have just been focusing on, okay, where's my next quest marker? I'm going to go to that and just progress that way without really knowing why. So yeah, again, but I feel like that's more a me thing than the game, because I feel like it's telling the story in the same way that a lot of very Eastern games tell stories. So it's very kind of Asian storytelling in my mind, for other stuff that I've tried. And yeah, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just something I'm not used to. It's like a language that I'm not used to hearing, kind of thing. But I'm still enjoying it, and I'll still keep playing it. So we'll see. The other thing that I've been playing, as I'm still playing, and I've talked about lots, is Baldur's Gate 3. I'm still playing in co-op. However, since last time we spoke, it's had 2 big patches to the game. So a lot of the glitchiness and everything that I've complained about in the past seems to have been mostly taken care of. It's definitely been a lot smoother since the patches for us. Haven't had any crashes, haven't had any UI problems or anything. I don't know if you remember, but I mentioned one of the issues I had was all of my clothing just disappeared out of my inventory.
I don't think you mentioned that, but okay.
Okay. Well, I'll explain then. Sorry if I repeat myself if I have, but one of the things, because you've got, in the game, you've got armor, so you've got like boots and armor and helmets and all that kind of stuff that you wear. But underneath that, you've got clothing. So you have underwear and a tunic or pants or, whatever. And when I started the game, I'm like, oh, cool. And I had some fancy clothes for my character. And I think depending on your background and stuff, you get different kind of automatic kind of clothes that you start with. And so I'm like, oh, cool. So I equipped all my fancy clothes, and I'm like, yeah, I look pretty cool. It's all fancy and everything. And the only time you really see the clothes is when you take a long rest. So you go to sleep. And during every long rest, usually, depending on where you're at in the game, something can happen. So there'll be an event or something that'll happen while you're sleeping. Like, it's a horrible camp to sleep in, because basically every time you do, you're woken up by something and some event happens. Which is cool as a game, but you think, man, this must be horrible to sleep in. But anyway, so when those scenes happen, you're wearing your clothes, because obviously you've taken all your armor off. Well, we had a very awkward scene where I think it was towards the beginning of the game, but this is also where a lot of your relationships with other party members and other characters kind of comes into play. So, if someone's got the hots for you, they might wake you up and be like, hey, let's have a talk, or let's, make out for a bit or something. Or if they've got issues between other party members, they'll talk to you during your long rest, and kind of that's how you advance that kind of story. But there was one where my character woke up and you get this beautiful cutscene of them talking to one of our party members, but I'm playing a female character and she was completely naked the whole time. And I'm like, where's my PJs? Like, where's my clothes gone? And she's just like walking around camp, stark naked, talking to people like it ain't no thing. And I'm like, yeah, go with your bad self. But then I woke up in the morning and I've got all my armor on again and everything, and I look, the same. But I checked my inventory and all my clothes had just disappeared. And I no longer had them equipped to my character. And I was like, oh, that's weird. And I checked my, storage chests and everything, and nope, not in there. I just completely lost my clothes.
They just disappeared just like that?
They just vanished, and I was just naked from then on. And however, after the first patch, as soon as we loaded in my inventory were my clothes again, which weren't there before. So obviously it's an issue that they fixed. And yeah, I obviously am now well clothed in all my scenes. But credit to the developers. They have, and fair enough, it's a new game and it's just come out. And from what I hear from other people, especially in the community, like from Alex or Marissa, I think, was also saying that they've been playing solo and they haven't encountered any glitches at all or any kind of problems in that sense. So I think most of my problems have been due to playing co-op and just netcode issues or stuff like that, which, I understand is very difficult to manage. So I've got a lot of forgiveness for those sorts of glitches with devs. At least it's not totally game breaking is the main thing. So yeah, I'm glad they fixed it and I got my clothes back and I'm no longer just the weird naked lady at night. That's a good thing.
I think like the best glitches are the ones that occur at random, because like you don't know why it doesn't work and it just works because randomness. It's like, oh well, it fixed itself. So they're like the funniest ones because you don't know what caused it. At the same time, they're the more frustrating ones because you don't know what caused it.
Yeah. I think the other thing that's making Baldur's Gate better for me as well is, as a party, like the guys that I'm playing with, my friends, we're kind of getting more into the rhythm of letting each other know when we're going to have a conversation with someone so that we can listen in and not miss huge parts of the story. And just, that kind of stuff where we're kind of like preempting something that might not be perfect in the game by just telling each other and, being more proactive about that sort of stuff. Plus, we had our first complete party wipe, so that's always fun. Spoiler ahead. Well, minor spoiler. I'll be vague about it, but, if you are playing Baldur's Gate, maybe you don't want to hear it, so I get that. We're not very far in either, by the way. We've played probably about 30 hours, but we're being very slow because there's three of us kind of discussing everything we do kind of thing. But there's one part of a quest where you basically end up talking to what is effectively a god. And we decided we'd be all sassy and be like, nah, screw you, god. And the god's like, oh, well, stuff you. And the screen, and like, basically hit us. The screen goes black and says, you are all dead.
Beautiful.
And we're like, oh, okay then.
I don't
that
know
makes
what
sense.
The funny thing is, like, I don't know what you expected. You just pissed off a god and you expected them to do nothing.
Well, it's funny because you get into that rhythm of most things you can kind of talk your way out of, or at least, you go with the bad result if you have to, or you kind of just deal with situations as they arise. And I guess we hadn't really met anyone that we hadn't been able to talk our way out of one way or the other. So we didn't quite realize how serious the ultimatum was that we were given, when the gods like basically do what I want or I'm going to kill you. And we're like, nah, we'll be right. See you later. She's like, all right, well, you're dead. Like, and sure enough, we were. Like, there wasn't even a fight. It was just straight up, you're dead. As it should be with when you're dealing with a god. But yeah, that's all I want to say about it, because I'm dancing around spoilers. But yeah, I'm pleased to say that after the big patches that have come out for Baldur's Gate 3, it seems like it's much more stable and it continues to be interesting and we're having fun. The only thing that didn't work for us in this last week was you've got to also be mindful of pathing a bit, because we were exploring this kind of area of the map that had lots of like vertical stuff and intricacies and all that kind of thing. And so we were kind of all split up a bit just exploring, because we knew it was empty. We'd already fought the enemies and that kind of thing. And at one point I clicked basically on a part of the map that I was looking at, because you can obviously move your camera away from your character up to a certain distance, but you can see pretty far away from your character before you actually even get there. And I clicked to kind of move there thinking, oh yeah, I thought how my character would travel there. But no, they passed a different way and decided to walk straight through some enemies. So just I on my own initiated combat with some dangerous enemies that we'd been avoiding up until that point. But apparently the quickest way from one point to the next was straight through them. And my character just kind of like ran off straight through the enemies and then went, oh, I'm in combat now. And we basically had to reload because it wasn't something that we were prepared for. So that's another thing we're used to, is saving very often. So yeah. So there's still things to remember like that. Like there are limitations where if you were playing real D&D, I would just say to my DM, I'm like, well, obviously I'm not going to walk through the enemies. Like, so you can't put that on me kind of thing.
Yeah. Like, unless the GM is really like, well, you said I'll take the tortoise path. Obviously, the one with the pit full of snakes was the tortoise one.
So that's kind of, if you have a real DM, you can kind of retroactively change things for, just to make things smoother if you need to. Obviously, depending on your DM, but for my Dungeons and Dragons group, that's how we do it. We don't change everything, but if something stupid happens, it's kind of like, would you actually do that? Or, that doesn't seem like you would have done that if you actually knew that that would have happened.
Yeah.
Like, if you were that character who could see that you're walking right towards some enemies, you probably would have turned around. So yeah, but that's just the limitations of being a video game, I guess. But like I say, it's still really good. It's still really there's a lot of depth to it. There's a lot to it, and I'm really looking forward to finding out more about it as we go. Because again, I don't think we're too far into it. We're probably just starting, perhaps, the second act. For anyone who is playing it, this isn't a spoiler, but it should kind of tell you where we're up to. We've just got past. Well, we've just transitioned to the mountain pass on the map. So that kind of, if you know what it is, you'll know what it is. So yeah, I don't know how far we're into it, but that's where we're up to. But yeah, we'll keep playing that, and I'll probably be talking about it for weeks and weeks to come, because it's going to take a while. Yeah. The other two that I'm going to just mention should be quick. I've played a little bit more of It Takes Two with my sister, who I mentioned I was doing some co-op with. Well, it has to be co-op, so. But we played maybe another hour and a half, I think, or thereabouts of It Takes Two, and we're still enjoying it. Like, the gameplay is really good and it's fun. I really enjoy how pretty much everything you have to do together. Like, you can't basically go off on your own and do stuff. Like, you basically have to do everything together. And for me, that's the real fun part of the game, because you got to kind of figure out the puzzles, and they're not too hard, at least not yet, but they're sometimes they're a bit of a head scratcher where you got to kind of try every option and go, oh, this is the one that works. But yeah, you've really got to work together, and there's no real solo aspect to the game at all, which is cool. I still, well, my sister and I are both still not sold on the characters. We still think they're kind of jerks, and we're not too fond of them. I have been spoiled on one aspect of the story, like long time ago, because I think it's one of those moments that kind of stands out. And I think we're getting close to it because our current objective is what I think this event kind of triggers. I'm trying not to spoil anything or say anything too specific, but there's a part that you could probably call controversial or not nice.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I know all about it because I just had it spoiled from just watching stuff, and people have talked about it because it's like one of those moments that you remember. And I think we're getting close to that because our objective is basically the result of that. So yeah, if that makes any sense, you might know where we're up to. But but yeah, we haven't really got that much further. But I'm really enjoying it still. I like how they keep coming up with new ways to kind of new puzzles, new co-op kind of puzzles that require you both to work together and do stuff. That's a lot of fun. The other thing that I just picked up the other day again, which I randomly had the itch to play, was GTA 5 Online. Not the story, because I played the story many years ago when it first came out. But I think I was just watching some YouTube, or I had a Twitch stream on or something, and they were playing some GTA, or they mentioned it. I can't really remember why, but I was like, yeah, I wonder what GTA Online's like these days again. And I've got an old character from back in the day. I've, got a bit of money. I've got a nice apartment, all that kind of stuff. I thought, oh, let's see how my character's going and what GTA Online's like these days. And it's the same shit show it always was. I very quickly jumped out of the public server that I was on into a private one so that I didn't just get ganked 24/7. Because my experience with that game, playing with public randoms, is you just get killed every 5 seconds by people who have hacked it or are flying around in jets bombing everybody on the map. And that's it. There's no counter to that. You just kind of have to suck it up and deal with it, or go play a solo session with no one else. So that's what I did. And and there are stuff you can do on your own. Like I did a mission where I had to steal a van from some bad guys and go collect a bunch of stuff and then deliver it somewhere else, and to earn some money and stuff. And that was fun. It was just like some random GTA stuff. It's very GTA. There's nothing new there. I'm sure everyone knows what that's about. But I just wanted to mention it because I was half thinking it might be fun. If anyone in the How Long to Beat community who hears this is interested, let me know if you'd be interested in maybe forming a How Long to Beat crew, which is basically like a guild. And if anyone's into just hooking up and doing some races or some missions or something like that, I reckon I'd be down for that, because I'd much rather play with people who I kind of half am tangentially connected with, rather than just complete randoms who just want to kill me the whole time. So
Very, very fair.
Yeah, I just thought I'd put that out there just in case. You never know. Even if we just have a few races or something, that could be fun. But yeah, that's believe it or not, that rounds out everything I'm going to talk about of what I've been playing.
That was a lot.
Which, yeah, and there's probably a few more that I just didn't have much to say about. So I tend to jump around a lot of stuff, and it has been a couple of weeks since we last spoke about it. So however, one thing that we can both contribute to a bit more is our topic this week, which we thought we'd just talk about the game of the month, because a new game has been chosen for September, and as we record this, we're at the beginning of September. And of course, it's Murder by Numbers, which I believe we both finished. But yeah, Paula, what did you think of Murder by Numbers?
Oh, overall, I found it to be like a cute little game to pass the time with, but I didn't feel it was anything like groundbreaking. Like overall, I feel like the puzzles in multiple numbers weren't like the best because I play like a lot of Picross. More than I would like to admit. Let's be fair.
I think we're the same there very
Yeah.
much.
So yeah, that is pretty much the whole outlook I have on the game. I mean, I like the characters a lot. I feel like they were like the ones that carried the whole game for me. The plot wasn't like anything to write home about, but it was interesting. And the puzzles were like where the art of the puzzles where things fell a little flat for me. I'm still like a Pickers fiend, so I just completed it out of hunger for Pickers, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But still, they were more like a little diversion from the story rather than something that was fully integrated into it. They had a context of why you're solving Picross because of the little robot thing that follows you around, which was kind of cute, but it didn't go. They didn't elaborate a lot more on that. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I pretty much agree, and I'm a big Picross fan as well, and like it's the app on my phone that I use the most is doing Picross puzzles, and that was kind of what drew me to it in the first place. Was just going, oh, Picross game, how about that? Just as an aside, speaking of my Nintendo experience, I did have a Nintendo DS for a short amount of time until I gave it away because I wasn't using it. But the games that I played the most on there were 3 free Picross games that were on the eShop, and yeah, I completed all of them, and that's kind of how much I enjoy doing those puzzles. But also how much, like yourself, I have done many puzzles, and so playing Murder by Numbers, the level of the puzzles was not very high. They're all pretty straightforward, and I know what you mean with the art as well. Like you can get really cool art through Picross puzzles, even simple ones. Like they don't have to be even super complex, but they can be used really well to create really cool artworks. And yeah, I don't think the ones in Murder by Numbers are anything to write home about. But I did really enjoy the game still. I thought it's one of those games where I thought that everything was done well. It just didn't stand out 100%. It was kind of like very much a fine TM.
Yeah, definitely.
And like, there's nothing wrong with it per se. It seems very competent, and I enjoyed the story for what it was, although I don't really remember it because it wasn't that memorable. And I did play it a while ago, so yeah. And I remember the puzzles being pretty easy, although I liked that there were lots of them. It was kind of like, yep, play through it. That's nice. That's cool. Now it's finished. All right, what else is there? I'm not too cut up about it finishing or anything, but I thought it was a good game. Not outstanding. Although I will say I think more highly of it since having played other games that are very similar, where they try to do the same thing. I can't remember what. Oh, there was one I played recently that I know you guys did talk about on the previous season.
Is it Pixel Puzzle Makeup League?
Yes. I played that thinking it might be similar, and it is similar, but I didn't enjoy it as much as Murder by Numbers, I have to admit. It kind of lost me along the way and was also not very challenging. But having said that, I do think that Murder by Numbers is good, and if you're into that sort of thing, it's a nice kind of playthrough. It's not, like I wouldn't go out and break the bank to get a copy and go crazy. But if you happen to have access to it, or if it's on special or something, it's a nice little playthrough that you could do a lot worse.
Yeah.
basically.
So why don't we tackle some of the buzz on the How Long to Beat community, both on the forums and the Discord community?
Mm.
So one of the things that we heard about is that they're comparing it with Ace Attorney, and my opinion as the veteran player of Ace Attorney, they are two different games. Like,
well, and I feel like it's not so much the game is being compared; it's more it's got that kind of style, or it's got that kind of vibe. Like the music is that kind of upbeat music that goes with the visuals, and the visuals are very kind of similar to Ace Attorney. I feel like the characters are very kind of larger than life, and it's that same kind of crime solving thing. So I think I got the impression that it was not like, yeah, it's the same game. It's more like it's got that vibe, which is kind of cool. But yeah, it's not Ace Attorney.
yeah, exactly.
And the mystery and everything doesn't really take much thinking about. You just kind of play through it. You don't really have to solve much from memory.
Yeah, it feels like a more watered down experience where the thing like Murder by Numbers is that it has to do like both things at the same time, like being like a mystery game and solving pictures puzzles and then having a story. So it doesn't like really dive too deep into either of them. While Ace Attorney, well, you have your a stage of gathering information, of gathering evidence, and then you have your stage of, okay, I'm putting all this evidence on the table and trying to solve the case. So in that case, like Ace Attorney does definitely have an advantage on how far it can go with each specific case and how deep it can dig into a character's background. Which is nice, and the other Murder by Numbers is still nice because sometimes you want a lighter experience in that regard. But it's still like kind of disappointing that only a couple of characters really get developed, and one of the leads even gets like the robot. I feel it gets developed, but still like not as much as it could be. Well, the main character has like all the focus because, well, she's the main character.
Yeah.
That being said, the other advantage that Ace Attorney has is that it is a series. Not only that, each individual game is at least twice as long as Murder by Numbers, even twice as long. So in that regard, it has more time to develop things and get really into the cases because again Murder by Numbers has like really simple cases that don't challenge a lot, and they kind of like lack that aha moment that other murder mystery games have, or mystery games in general have. But still I feel like it does the best it can with what it has. Like, yeah.
No, totally. Well, and I think that's interesting as well because I've seen a few people talk about how the length is actually off-putting for Murder by Numbers because, like, I think it's about a 20 to 30-hour game on How Long to Beat.
Is it? I thought it was like a 10-hour game. Like, am I misremembering things?
Yeah, main story is at 20 hours. Completionist is 34. So it's it's got a bit of length.
Right. Okay, right off what I said about the length of the game, like having like less time to develop the thing. But it was like a 10-hour game, but still like Ace Attorneys are like 30 hours, maybe 25 hours. So yeah, it's now I have to take back a little bit of the things that I said because those 20 hours like are quite a lot of time to develop the thing. So I guess. Oh, but it has the big house puzzles, so you spend most of the time there.
Yeah, like you're probably spending at least half the time just doing puzzles, if not more than, I would imagine.
That's why the story feels a lot shorter.
Because like one of the things I liked about it was that there were lots of puzzles in the game because I've played other Picross games where you like it'll be a visual novel Picross kind of thing, but the amount of puzzles will just be like not many, and they'll never have a chance to really get challenging.
Yeah.
And then it's over, and it's like, oh well, that was kind of. I'd rather just play a straight up infinite Picross game without a story, because I like the puzzles. But I remember being satisfied by Murder by Numbers having lots of puzzles, even if they weren't the most challenging in the world. It would have been nice to have some really hard stuff towards the end, but I don't think it ever got that difficult. So yeah, but I've seen a couple of people as well say that the writing is good, and from memory, I kind of agree with that. I think I enjoyed how it was written, because one of the things on what was the other one you just mentioned, the Makeout Party, whatever.
Puzzle
Picross
Party. No, Pixel Puzzle Makeout League.
That's the one. Pixel Puzzle Makeout League. I found the writing in that to be quite on the nose, to say the least, because it was trying to be very meta and kind of include fandoms and obscure things and stuff that perhaps didn't relate to everybody. Whereas I found Murder by Numbers, I think the story read quite well, and I'm a bit of a snob when it comes to writing and things. Like, I always think visual novels are a bit kind of crap in the whole storytelling side, and part of it's because, to put it in context, I studied English literature at uni, so I'm kind of coming from that kind of angle, which I know can be a bit pretentious or whatever, but I do enjoy a whole lot of different levels. But I think it's more when you've really studied anything or something well, the really top tier stuff that you're comparing it to, so you kind of have a different perspective in that sense. Whereas, if all you read are visual novels, then you'll have a different perspective, and neither's necessarily bad or wrong. It's just where you're coming from. But I remember liking the writing in Murder by Numbers, and thinking, as far as those sorts of games go, it was pretty good. Like, yeah, it's not high-end literature, but it's decent.
Yeah, definitely. Like, even, compared with some of the visual novels that I've played, like, recently, I feel like it's still, like, above the lower tier, but still not up there. It is enjoyable enough for me to go through the whole thing. That's the thing that I feel like it is. It has, like, I feel like it does have, like, some real specific moments that are, like, very good. And I feel like overall it doesn't have, like, any moment where I feel like, okay, this writing is off or anything like that. So props to that, because even, like, the best books or, like, the best visual novel, they have, like, that one scene that is kind of, like, a stinker in the whole thing. So yeah.
Well, and especially with visual novels, for me, there's always that bit which I'm like, oh, that's cringy, or like that's a bit on the nose and kind of loses me. But yeah, I think for Murder by Numbers, it was pretty solid throughout for what it is.
Yeah,
basically.
and the other thing, I think Murder by Numbers was developed by English-speaking studio, and it shows because, like, I'm very used to some Japanese to English translations, like, sounding a bit off at this point, so not having that was a breath of fresh air. Like, for context, there's been, like, some specific instances where the translation or, like, the attempt of localizing a concept was so bad that it became a thing in the community. So in Cafe Enchanted, there's a character that likes Ochome games, and I think there's a concept in Japanese. I think it was like Hako Oshi or something like that, or Haku no Oshi. Don't quote me on that because I don't remember at this point. But it was supposed to mean, like, someone who supports, like, every character in the game in the sense of merchandising. So they just buy like all the merch and support like all the characters and stuff like that. They translated that to Box Butcher because Hako is a box. Or she, I don't remember. But they translated that to Box Butcher, and the concept was so ridiculous to the community that we actually adopted it. So we call each other like Box Butcher if we support like all the pretty ways. So yeah. That tangent aside,
Nice.
that's one thing that I very much welcome from games, like when I am able to experience it like in the original languages. That goes for movies and books too, because there isn't like there isn't like context you're missing from the language for in that sense, or like things that went missing in translation.
I think what people have said kind of echoes kind of how we felt about playing Murder by Numbers as well. Like, they said it's a bit easy as well, and it's not necessarily the most in-depth game ever, but what is there is kind of decent enough to kind of keep playing. And obviously you've got to like Picross puzzles, because if you don't, you're going to have a bad time regardless. So yeah, but I think if you are thinking about it, it's a decent time. It's pretty chill. It's pretty enjoyable for what it is. Like, it's very lighthearted. It's very easygoing. It's not going to make your mind hurt or anything. So I think it's a decent enough experience for what it is.
Definitely. So again, if you've found it with this game in your hands for some reason, go ahead and give it a play. And if you see it on sale and are interested enough to see the game, even just for a little bit, go ahead, jump into it.
Mm-hmm.
It has the Define TM seal of approval, I guess.
Pretty much.
We're horrible at selling this game.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, it is. There are those kinds of games which I think this falls into, where I have fond memories of it and I enjoyed it, but I also know that there are better games, and it's not. There are things that it doesn't do as well as other games, but I don't feel like it does anything particularly super wrong either. So those sorts of games are kind of hard to talk about, because you don't want to be negative because you enjoyed yourself, but you're also being realistic and saying, well, it's not the best. But
yeah, but still, it doesn't have to be perfect to be fun. So there you go.
Exactly, and yeah, I think my takeaway is that I did enjoy the game, and I do have fond memories of it. So all the rest is true as well. I enjoyed it.
Maybe we'll have more things to say about the next month Game of the Month, but we'll have to wait a whole month for that. Whee!
Well, and I'd be interested to see how people go as they continue playing it, and if people do actually finish it and that kind of thing. So, yeah.
Definitely. So, why don't we jump to the last segment of the night? Or is it the morning for you? Anyway, which is Guess the Game, where the aim of the game is to guess the game. Guess the game. Oh my god. I still have the thing memorized from last time. And
I kind of really like a stupidly long title that you can't say.
Yeah. I mean, that was our run for a while. So, Josh, what do you have in store for me like this week? Because it is my time to guess the game.
I hope you got your thinking cap on. Although part of me feels like this could be really easy, so that could be a clue. But I don't know. We're gonna see. But I have selected a game for you to guess from your completed list, and there are plenty of comments to go on. It's quite a popular game, I'll give you that straight off the bat. But the first comment I'm going to give you, which this is what I mean. I mean, it's hard to tell sometimes. Like, this could give it away right away, but I'm not sure. But either way, let's find out. The first comment is, for a main story completion, didn't go out of my way for collectibles, remembered a bunch from the GB game, relied on guide for the rest.
Is it Link's Awakening?
Bloody well is too. That's what I mean. I thought it might give it away really quick.
Yeah, because it's the only, like in recent memory, it is the only game that has a Game Boy version that has collectibles from what I played. Because most of the games that I played from Game Boy were like Pokemon games, and those don't have a lot of collectibles.
Well done.
Woo! I'll take my 3 points then.
Yeah, you killed it. And that goes to show like my ignorance as well, because I thought, collectibles isn't going to give it away.
Yeah, I don't play a lot of collectathons, so...
Every game's got collectibles, surely. No, well done. I'm very impressed. That was so quick.
Well, that is probably just like a break. Watch me like in a couple of weeks travel and get like 1 point.
We'll see. I mean, I thought, obviously, Link's Awakening, very popular game. Although on HLTB there's only 375 completions, which I thought was kind of low for that kind of game. But this is the remake, so maybe people aren't playing it because they played the original or something. I don't know. But very high rating, of course, and all that kind of thing. Like, I think I'm looking at your completion now, and you gave it a 10 out of 10.
And I don't think I got like everything, but I went in completely blind, so
Nice.
That's the reason I didn't get everything, because I didn't know how. But it was such a fun experience going blind because, well, I remember it was Rick or Alex. I think it was Alex saying that some of the things were kind of obscure, like some of the clues were like abstract or obscure or something like that. But I found it to be like pretty not streamlined, because it wasn't, definitely wasn't. Especially that one dungeon where you have to crash the pillars and stuff like that. That was very hard to navigate. I think it was Eagle's Tower. But exploring the overworld, was very, very fun. Like, I don't usually explore a lot like in top-down games, but in this one I had to. I pretty much had to. The only other game that I've come this close to completing it completely blind was A Link Between Worlds. I think I got 100% on that one.
Cool.
So yeah, let me do the shameless plug here. Like, play Link's Awakening, please. More people need to play this one. It is such a charming game, and the toy aesthetic it has for the remake, it just darn adorable. And it really fits like the whimsical tone it has. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's probably a good example of why I think remakes are a good idea. And this is a whole discussion for another time. But I feel like remakes are always kind of, when I hear something's being remade, I kind of roll my eyes and go, oh, why don't you just make something new? But then at the same time, for something like this, say, if I was ever going to play, say, Link's Awakening, I would play the remake version, and I'd be more implied to play it because of the remake, rather than diving into something that's like from ages ago that has weird controls and things, because things have changed so much.
And definitely on this kind of game, because since it was on Game Boy Color, like the way, like the thing they did to remap pretty much anything to A and B was admirable at the time, and all that. But having like now having a dedicated button for the sword and not having to think about swapping it out to have like Rock's Feather to jump, pretty much. It was really a game changer for me, because I played the original, didn't get very far. I don't remember what happened. Maybe I got distracted, but I was having fun. But anyway, Um, but the way they modernized the controls, while having a very solid foundation to work on, made the game, in my opinion, the definitive version of the game, like the Switch remake. The only thing that I miss is the pictures that you could take at the specific points of the game, which added like so much charm to the game that it was super silly, completely like nothing necessary, but it just added to the overall experience, and I was a little sad that they took that one out, because since you are able to transfer screenshots from your Switch to your computer or your cell phone, you would be able to print the photos like you were able to in the GBA. In the Game Boy Color, because the Game Boy had this little printer where you could print stuff from specific games. You would have to have like the game that has like compatibility with the printer, like Link's Awakening, for example. But yeah, that's one thing that I feel like it was a missed opportunity. But I understand that maybe the toy mechanic, the toy aesthetic didn't just vibe in the same way that pixel art with did. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think just to, again, like I say, it's a whole nother discussion probably, but I think controls are the biggest thing that make me like the idea of remakes more than anything else.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, I don't mind old graphics, I don't mind old systems or even design, but yeah, like old controls are really frustrating at times if you're used to modern controls. So
yeah.
Yeah, anyway. Well done, Paula. That was a great guess. I'm kind of annoyed that you got it so quickly, but there you go. Well done. And that pretty much wraps us up for this episode. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And as always, if you have any feedback or anything, let us know. But if not, we'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.
And I'm like, yeah, go with your bad self.